Well, first of all, my real name's Jerry Ligairi. I'm from Vanolebo, Vakonrove. I've got maternal links to Lakamba in Lau. The name Papa Jey is, well, being used as my stage name is a nickname that my uncle gave me. He uses that as, it's literally just this one guy who calls me Papa Jey since I was a little kid. And everyone on our roster has a stage name and has a great following. And I don't. So I'm like this one unknown element that they threw in. And they literally asked me for a stage name. And as I was taking the call to be asked to be part of this project, one of the guys in my neighborhood was just walking by and he just shouts out, "Hey, Papa Jey." So over the phone, I'm like, "Hey, my name's Papa Jey," so write that down. So that's literally how my stage name has come about. And this show actually started about 2 years ago at Damodar City. And it was done during an Inside Out band night. So during this Inside Out band night, they were doing a band night for a comedy movie opening. It was a Kevin Hart movie. And the management at the time decided they'll have a stand-up comedy show. And they would use that to open before people get to watch the movie. The thing is, I wasn't even considered for that show. What happened was one of the original acts pulled out. And
you stayed.
yeah, I was literally doing my shopping, and their marketing manager was running around trying to find someone. And you have to remember, all of us went to Maris, the marketing manager of Damodar at this time, Inside Out, almost all of their band members and I are all classmates. And we met at the shop, at the supermarket there, and he was like, "Can you do a stand-up bit for us?" And I was unsure of it, and he's like, "I'll pay you $100. And I heard that, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it, man." So yeah, it was easy money, and I would have to say that's pretty much how I got into it. And then 2 years down the line, because after that show, we had thought it was gonna be a monthly thing, and then it never worked out. 2 years later, the band have their own company and decide they'll just revive the whole thing. They bring in all the original acts from that first one. And here I am, man. And it's all thanks to one guy deciding that he didn't want to take part in. Papa Jey is me. I do not act as a character, really. None of my bits are written or rehearsed coming up to the show. I literally tell them real life stories of what's happened in my past. And for some reason, people find it hilarious, and now I'm making money off of a lot of stupid decisions I made as a young guy. Jerry is actually, he was born in Wellington. His dad was a diplomat. English was a first language because my parents brought us up believing that since we were traveling so much, English would be the language that we needed to communicate with our peers if we joined the different international schools. So we came back to Fiji, we went down to Belgium. I had most of my primary education in Europe. And then we came back home, and I had to actually learn how to speak Fijian. I always understood it, but I was always better at speaking English than I was at Fijian. So what happened was, my father actually comes from the area of Rewai. As a young man, he bought a house for his family there, and they grew up there. And so when we came back from Europe, we moved back to Rewai, and my dad literally asked me to my face to hang out with the boys in that area, and that's how I ended up learning the Fijian language. But the conversational skills that I have needed to be a part of what I do now all came from the upbringing of learning how to speak English first, learning how to read. You need to read at a certain level to be able to compete with all your peers at that time. Being able to tell a story. My dad always told me he didn't care what I failed in school. If I ever failed English, he'd throw me out of the house. And so my storytelling, back in high school, one of my favorite things to do was composition writing, which is literally like the first bit of your English paper. And I would make up these crazy fantasy stories because I love fantasy, and it all comes back to what we do where you're standing there for 20 minutes telling a story, while mine is all factual, it's the way to link one thing to another. At like how I got my name, it's all at a whim. So sometimes I'm standing up there and I'm just looking at the crowd and I see someone I know and I start linking things from there. It's all come from how I was brought up, and being in Marist with all the stupid ways we make fun of each other as boys, that's where your punchline sort of like started up. And I polished that when I actually joined radio. A lot of us are ex-radio announcers or in radio at the moment. So just getting our punchlines out there in time, knowing when to use it, the right vibe to use it at, that's all come from like my upbringing and the work I've done. Great question, because it's something I personally have been thinking about a lot. I have a lot of friends. Like I said, I'm classmates with Inside Out members, and I've always had this thing where I've got friends who are into the arts and they're great at what they do. These guys can sing, they can play their instruments. A lot of guys know how to write songs and stuff like that. I'm seeing this as an art form. I mean, a lot of guys can tell jokes at the tanoa, but then, or around a jug of beer, but then what happens when you can make money off of it? And then in this type of time with COVID happening, a lot of people went through some hard times. I went through some hard times. I went through like 6 months of being unemployed. I was unemployed when I was offered this job, and literally Thursday was the show, and the following Monday I got hired by one of the guys who was watching. So this has opened up doors for me, and I'm hoping that I can open up doors for other guys who like don't know what they want to do, but can now see that this is a path that they can follow. So even if I don't become like internationally famous or something, hopefully locally they'll know that, oh, Papa Jey was one of the first ones to do it, and now I can do it too. During that time of unemployment, while it was stressful, it was depressing at some point. I surrounded myself with a lot of friends, and what we did was we would always find other projects. I ended up learning how to do maintenance for air conditioners. I learned a new trade altogether within that 6 months just to make some money. And what would happen was we would always be telling jokes. We'd always keep the mood light because everybody's struggling at the time. And the way I see this show is that everybody's looking for some sort of lightheartedness in this certain environment at the time. And this is one way they can come and just sort of forget all their problems and know that someone else is going through the same thing, but there's a way to make it sort of funny. And when anything's funny, you enjoy it, or you enjoy getting through it. That's where I see it by everyone. But at the end of the day, you just don't give up. Don't give up. You look for something you're good at. And I mean, if you're struggling financially, find something you're good at and monetize it, Find a way to earn a living off of something you enjoy. Because once you enjoy it, it's not a job anymore. And the more you enjoy it, the more you'll do it. And if you've monetized it, the more money you'll make. And I always like to say, because I'm not one like the rest of our roster to be like putting out videos on social media or anything. My one saying is, I'm only funny when you pay me. So, get paid for what you love to do, and you'll enjoy, getting through the hard times. I like to call myself an educated thug. I grew up in an area where I did some stupid stuff with a lot of stupid guys. All of us are doing very well in life now. And we're making some good money. It's all about the money now. It's all about the money. And like I said, you gotta come and see it for yourself. You'll hear everyone talk about it, but you won't believe them until you come and see it. We've reached the point now where we are getting hired to do outside jobs. I'm getting hired right now to do a drag queen battle night by myself. That's gonna be interesting. So if you can imagine me in a room full of 200 drag queens, come and see me on the 3rd of December to see a little light of what they can expect.